is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers' best bet or daily package for only $2.
Welcome into First Pitch, Wager Talk YouTube channel. I am Drew Martin. Today, joined by Dave Koken and Steve Merrill of WagerTalk.com, which we're breaking down the Tuesday, July 5th card here. We got three good matchups. We got the Rays and the Red Sox, the Cubs and the Brewers, and the Minnesota Twins and the Chicago White Sox. We got best bets at the end. Starting it off here in the AL East, 7:10 Eastern start. Tampa Bay Rays at the Boston Red Sox, Fenway Stadium, the host. We get Pivetta going for the Sox here, and Springs going for the Rays. Dave, we'll come to you first here. 9.5 being the total, minus $1.25 at most books as we're looking at the Wager Talk odds screen. That's the Boston Red Sox as the short home favorite. You liking anything tonight in Fenway?
Well, look, Tampa had a great weekend in Toronto, and then go into Fenway yesterday and get just completely shut down. And it wasn't like they were facing the iron of the Red Sox staff. I mean, the Red Sox went with an opener in Austin Davis, and then Connor came in, and Connor Crawford, and he looked great, and he's not great. So I don't know. The Rays offense just completely vanished yesterday. Now they have to go up against Pivetta, who's pitching outstanding ball. Springs, coming back off a little bit of a layoff, was not good in his last two starts prior to the layoff. I think the layoff might actually help him as the innings were kind of piling up for him. So maybe Springs has a good game tonight, but he's facing a Red Sox lineup that has done an inordinate amount of damage at home against southpaws. And even if Bogarts is out again, this is still a really dangerous lineup. I don't know. It looks a little cheap to me. It didn't make my card, but it definitely an opinion on the Red Sox to come out on top in this game. They're just a better ball club in this situation, and I would rate Pivetta ahead of Springs at this point.
Yeah, good stuff, Dave. And Steve, coming to you next. Last 11 starts here for Pivetta. He's 8-1 with under 2 ERA. And to Dave's point, the Rays, they won, 3 out of 5 north of the border. They're coming back. They get 2 or 3 of their relievers back that weren't vaccinated. That might help them. But to tell you the truth, Steve, this Rays lineup, when you look at what their last 20 days in terms of the amount of runs that they're averaging per game, it's bottom 5 in baseball. This lineup is banged up right now. I agree with Dave. I think it's a short price on the Sox. What are you feeling tonight in Fenway?
Well, you wonder if yesterday was kind of a hangover maybe from the Toronto series, because after playing 5 games in Toronto, they travel without rest, as you mentioned, to Fenway, and they put up only 2 hits, no runs. We've seen several teams do that this season. Letdown spots hurt the offenses. The pitchers are used to sitting in the bullpen, not playing. It doesn't affect the starter because they're off. But we've seen it affect the offense. The textbook example was a couple Mondays ago. Probably the worst spot I've seen in several seasons, when the Dodgers had to play that Sunday night extra inning revenge game against Atlanta, travel all the way out to the altitude and thin air. They got shut out in Coors Field, the most hitter-friendly park in baseball. So I don't want to read too much into the lack of offense yesterday, because the Rays actually were hitting the ball very well during the final 3 games against Toronto. They put up 24 runs on 37 hits. So that was obviously a pretty good outing in those final games. Actually, I'm sorry, 41 hits, I believe. So they hit the ball really well. We'll give them a pass maybe. If the offense gets back on track, could be some value with the over tonight. The Red Sox have 22 hits in their last 2 games, despite scoring just 4 runs each. So over the last 3 or 4 games, both teams are hitting the ball. They're putting it in play. That usually leads to more runs. And Tampa's a really interesting team with their bullpen. Obviously, it's been a strong bullpen for a few years now. That's why they've been a championship caliber team. I talked about this earlier today on Wager Talk today. Brian Leonard, Carmine Bianco broke this game down. By the way, $2 Tuesday with Carm. He's got a huge 5%. I want to give him a shout out there at WagerTalk.com. And this is the national TV game on TBS. A lot of interest tonight. And we said, bullpens both middle of the pack on ERA this season. But if you look at home runs allowed, Tampa Bay's bullpen has given up the second most home runs in all of baseball this season. So there again, they're prone to give up some big hits. I think in Fenway, that's a problem. I think over the total is worth a look in this one.
Good stuff from Dave Koch and Steve Merrill there, guys. We're going to head to the second game NL Central matchup here. 8:10 Eastern first pitch. Steve, we'll come to you first. We get the Cubs at the Brewers. Hendricks versus Alexander, the rookie, going for the Brew Crew. Seeing it anywhere from -120 to as high as -130 on the Brewers. 8.5 the total. You liking anything in Milwaukee tonight, Steve?
Well, I mean, when you first look at this game, you get Milwaukee at home, the better team, playoff caliber team against a Chicago team that's been very inconsistent this season. That looks like a very short price. You dive a little bit deeper, and the Cubs do appear to be cooling off. You know, they put up some big runs at home in that Cincinnati series last week, and I know because I had a strong overplay last Thursday in that 22-run game in which the Cubs put up 23 hits on their own. They then cooled off mightily against the Red Sox, a better opponent. Those next 3 games, they only scored 11 total runs. They scored 15 and then just 11 total in the next 3 games. Had the 23 hits, and they had only 23 total hits in all 3 games against Boston. Didn't do much better yesterday at Milwaukee, the first game on this road trip, just 2 runs, 6 hits. So it looks like the Cubs are cooling off. Brewers' offense has been cold as well, just 7 runs their last couple games on just 10 total hits. That is a concern, but they were smacking it before that. And I still think they're in pretty good current form. So it's a short price here, maybe based on the pitching matchup, but we're getting a much better team at home in Milwaukee, laying just $1.25.
Yeah, Dave, coming to you next. It does seem like a short price here on the favorite, kind of rhyming with the first game. To Steve's point, I mean, they've been smacking it around. Their last 9 games averaging just under 7 runs per game. What are you liking tonight, Cubs and Brewers?
I actually like the other side a little bit. Hendricks has not had a good year overall, obviously, but his last 2 starts have been very encouraging. So it might be that the veteran right-hander is starting to hit his stride. Look, I've watched Alexander, I think, in 3 of his starts, and there's a reason he's been basically a career minor leaguer. His stuff just isn't that good. Okay, he doesn't have swing and miss stuff at all. His control is spotty. I just don't see him as I think he's in the Brewers rotation right now because of the injury situation. They had to promote somebody, and he's the guy. But he's definitely the weak link in the rotation. Hendricks in better form, and I would look first 5 here in the Cubs at a small plus price because I expect Hendricks to outpitch Alexander. It's as simple as that. Alexander's not a guy I'm going to play on as a favorite. Could also look at an over, but both teams might be due to cool off because the last 7 days WRC plus are sky high, and that doesn't last forever. So I think if I were to make a play here, I'd take a shot with the Cubs first 5.
Okay, looking towards the Cubbies. Underdog here on the road. Guys, we got 1 game left. We got best bets at the end. Also, 8:10 Eastern start here. Dave, we can come to you first. Heading to the Windy City, we get the Minnesota Twins in the Chicago White Sox AL Central battle. Chris Archer versus Kopech going for the Sox. Seeing another minus $1.25 here. At most shops, that's the White Sox as the home favorite. Total of 9. What do you like in Twins and Sox tonight, Dave?
Well, I think there's a good chance to get some runs here. Archer can't throw the ball over the plate. He had 6 walks last time out. His walk rate for the season is terrible. His pitch count gets used up in the first 4 innings, basically. Kopech has been trending the wrong direction. He's got good stuff, but I don't know. He just isn't putting it together. Both guys have had very fortunate seasons as far as batting average on balls and play are concerned, and they both appear to be regressing a bit in that department. White Sox continue to do stupid stuff in the diamond. I know they're playing better ball of late, but then yesterday it's a base running blunder by Robert. They hit into a triple play. It's just not coming together for them. I really don't want Archer. So the only thing I can look at here is the over. It's certainly not on my card because it's a high number, but I think you could see lots of offense here.
Yeah, Steve, to Dave's point, I mean, Kopech, he's kind of dropped off here. His last 3 starts, 0-3, giving up 11 earned runs in 16 innings. And he started off the season pretty hot. I know because I lost on a couple bets going against him. But good matchup overall. I mean, competitively priced game. Are you liking anything Twins and White Sox tonight, Steve?
Well, we had a great Wager Talk Today show. We had 5 free plays given out on the show between Teddy, Brian Leonard, and Carmine Bianco. And then we had a little extra time at the end, so I asked them each for kind of a play-on-play against team over the second half of the season as we're approaching the All-Star break in a couple of weeks. And Teddy Covers actually had the White Sox as his maybe play-on team, a team that has underperformed, that should play a little bit better. And I agree with them. I think there is some upside with the White Sox. If you look at the future odds, a lot of sports books, the White Sox are still in the mix as far as winning this division, even though they've underachieved 2 games below 500. Twins, meanwhile, 9 games above 500. So if they're going to get back in the mix, which I think they will, it probably starts with this series against Minnesota. And they dropped the first game yesterday 6-3. A little misleading because both teams had exactly 8 hits. So it was a little more competitive than the 6-3 indication. 2 more games here. I think they get this one tonight. I think there's some value with the White Sox at home. We've also seen a reverse line move. They opened as a dog in some locations, now a slight favorite. Some sharp money on Chicago, and I agree with that money tonight.
Interesting, Steve. I mean, they're 4 games back in the wild card. They're 38-40. You mentioned Wager Talk today, which, guys, you can check it out there, Wager Talk YouTube channel. When you're done watching here, it's a good show. Steve, what about these bet on kind of fade teams? Is there another one you want to throw out there for the watchers in terms of what you heard today on the show and maybe when the watchers could look to bet on?
Well, we'll go back to bullpen stats. We were talking a little bit about that. And Brian Leonard did a breakdown of the Guardians and Tigers, his Cleveland Guardians, Johnny Detroit's Tigers. We had to talk that game. And we're talking about how bad the Tigers' offense has been. And, we talk a lot about starting pitching. The odds are heavily dependent on starting pitching, but they go less than they've ever gone in history. They go 5 or 6 innings. It's a half game you're handicapping. Bullpens and especially offenses make up the majority of these games because the offensive rotation is pretty much, the lineup is pretty consistent. The Tigers have been the worst offensive team, and I like to look at road-only stats, as you know, because it takes out the hitter-friendly, the non-hitter-friendly ballparks, kind of compares apples to apples. Tigers had the least runs scored on the road of any team this year in baseball. They had the worst OPS, on-base plus slugging, which is a good overall metric. So they're a really bad offensive team. But what's striking to me, they had the 3rd best bullpen ERA in all of baseball. And that is the main reason why the Tigers are 48-26 to the under this season, because they've had a good bullpen and terrible offense. Orioles, 4th best bullpen. They've been the best run line team, so not a surprise there. So I think the Tigers are an interesting team if they can get any kind of offense going, which is a big if. The bullpen has actually been surprisingly really good, and that's the one outlier. If you look at the bullpen numbers, Astros, Yankees, the top 2 bullpens, worst bullpen, WHIP, and ERA, the Reds. So it's not a surprise normally to see bad teams down there, good teams up there, but the Tigers were the one that jumped out to me as the 3rd best ERA with the bullpen this year. It's just their offense has been so bad.
Yeah, a little under the radar there with the Tigers and the Motor City. Good stuff, Steve. Guys, we got best bets coming up. Huge shout out to the chat box. Everybody joining us live. We got Drew Cole in the house. We get Chuck Pod, Have, Nathan Cantor from the great state of Hawaii. Welcome in. Happy morning to you. Thanks for joining us. Abe in the house as well. Let us know, guys, what you're looking to bet tonight's card. Any questions you have, feel free to reply in the reply section below on the YouTube channel, guys. We're always interested in different looks from the watchers, so we'll get it out here this upcoming week. So we got best bets going around the horn here. Throw it over to Dave Koken. Check him out, WagerTalk.com. #1 MLB ranked handicapper here since 2019 on the diamond. He's got his best bet up, Tuesday baseball best bet. Check it out. Dave, throw it over to you. Final thoughts and best bet for the show.
I think the best bet's a good play, so grab that one. The other game I used tonight, I'll tell you about here, and I'll use it for the best bet of the show. I haven't done many -1s this year. But I did one tonight on the Nationals-Phillies game. A -1 in this case created with a half the bet on the money line, half the bet on the runs line, and that works out to a -1. The pitching matchup pretty much even with Espino and the lefty Sanchez from Philadelphia. But maybe a little bit of an edge because the Nationals are not good against lefties on the road. So he's not going to be out there for more than 4 innings or so. But even those 4 innings, Phillies might have a chance to grab a lead. Espino seems to be trending back toward what you would expect out of him. He's basically been a career quad 8 guy who's pitched well this year, but he's just not that good. And the Nationals, again, their numbers against lefties on the road, weighted runs created plus, really well below average. So edge there on the Phillies. Bullpens, toss up. But I actually would give the Phillies bullpen a little bit of an edge. And the Phillies certainly in better form right now because the Nationals come in after getting swept at home by Miami. They've lost 5 in a row. Peculiar time for them to announce the extensions of Mike Rizzo and Dave Martinez. But in any event, I think the Phillies have a good chance to win this game. And I'll take my chances that they can do it by more than 1 Phillies -1 is the play here. So you'll probably have to make two bets, 2% each, something like that. Phillies -1.
Guys, I'll follow that up with the Brew Crew tonight. We talked about it earlier in the show. I like him as the short home favorite here, -122. Risk $122 to win 100. I'm back in the MLB rookie here, Alexander, the starting pitcher. He actually made his debut against the Cubs in Wrigley Field. Went 7 innings, only 2 earned runs, June 1st. So coming back, a little more than a month later against the same lineup. We're only having to lay a little bit more than 20 cents here. We get the much better lineup, the better bullpen, and the home team, the hotter team as well in the Brewers, winning 7 of their last 9 games, and they're averaging 6.9 runs per game. So lay the short price here, underpriced home favorite with the Milwaukee Brewers is my best bet. Throw it over to Steve Merrill, who, huge shout out to Steve. Thanks, Steve. He'll be hosting the show from Thursday to Thursday, starting this week for me as I take a week off vacation. So thanks for that, Steve. And, hey, see, you're hot right now at WagerTalk.com, man, on the top of the charts here. So you guys got to check out his best bets at WagerTalk.com. Steve, throw it over to you. Final thoughts and best bet for the show.
Yeah, looking forward to hosting MLB First Pitch later this week on Thursday and Friday for Drew Martin. Also hosting for the Prez all week on Wager Talk Today with Teddy Covers. Check that out Monday through Friday at noon Eastern here on the network, and the replay, of course, 24/7 here on Wager Talk TV. Do have a strong best bet tonight for my clients at WagerTalk.com. Started July with the perfect 7-0 sweep. Missed out on Monday. Going to get back on track tonight on Tuesday, though, with an MLB best bet. Check that out, Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com. And a game that was just a bit outside from making the cut tonight. Going to look at a first 5-inning play on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Let's take one of the worst teams in baseball against the best team in baseball, right? But let's get a half a run when we do so. And let's do it on the first 5-inning line instead of the full game. And the reason is because the Pirates have one of the worst bullpens in baseball. That's what's really hurt them this season. The Yankees, along with the Astros, whether you look at ERA, WHIP, 2 of the best bullpens in baseball. The Yankees have been right up there all season. That's one of the reasons they've been so strong. They're also a nice power-hitting team. They rely heavily on home runs. But the Pirates starter tonight, Quintana's not given up a home run in 9 of his last 11 starts this season. He's only had 2 games in his last 11 starts in which he's given up a dinger. That's why I like the first 5. Let's take that bullpen uncertainty out of the equation. And I also think the Yankees are due to cool off. Look, they're on a pace to win 117 games still. That's not going to happen. I think maybe 110 is where they're going to get. They're on a pace to win 121 just a week ago. And yes, they still continue to find ways to win, but they're not hitting the ball that well. In fact, they've had single-digit hits now in 12 of their last 13 games. They've had 7 hits or less in 11 of their last 13 games. That's below the league average, just 7 hits a game. So I think they're going to cool off in the near future. Pirates have been a feisty team, especially at home this year. Both starters, pretty equal numbers. Let's take the bullpens out of the equation. Pirates first 5 inning plus a half, plus 105. It's actually a better price than the full game run line. Pittsburgh Pirates first 5 innings plus a half run. Your free play for Tuesday. Don't forget a strong best bet tonight. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com.
Pirates first 5 plus that half a run plus money on that. We get Brewers -122 for me, and Dave on Phillies -1. That's the -1 line. All right, guys, that's best bet. Dave Koken, Steve Merrill, Drew Martin. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Come back and join us. Best of luck with your bets. Until then.
Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers, best bet, or daily package for only $2.